While the information in a personal passport will be very personal and potentially sensitive, it is also important to remember that this is a tool designed to be shared, as well as for people to reflect on who they are and what they might need and want from support. And so it must comply with data protection law and policies in any organisation that it is used and shared with. So the principles of choice, control, and collaboration and being trauma aware and trauma sensitive are still very essential, but people do not have total control over how their information might be shared and processed. So I'm going to now run through some of the data protection essentials, and these are all written up and summarized on the next slide. So firstly, it is optional to complete a personal passport, and people do have total choice and control over what is included in their personal passport. However, the sharing and processing of the information in the personal passport should always comply with an organisation's data protection and privacy notice. And this is the case for the organisation it is completed with and shared with. For example, in Camden Council, people's information can be shared where it is needed to provide necessary support, where there is a safeguarding concern, and where people might be at risk or where others also might be at risk of harm. This means that people do not have total consent or even total control over how their information is processed or shared, unless that organisation's policy is based on consent. However, choice and control can still be an important principle of the personal passport, even when it comes to sharing. For example, if someone asks you to share it, you should share it, unless it is unsafe to do so. And you should still always be having conversations about how and when the personal passport might be shared and informing people as much as is helpful. For example, talking through the privacy notice that is included in the back of the personal passport. We should always be taking steps to ensure that anyone filling out a personal passport understands its purpose, that this information is to be shared, and having conversations with people where possible and where necessary if they have any concerns about who it might be shared with. You might have some concerns about the potential risks around the information someone wants to include in their personal passport, particularly about who it is shared with and if it gets into the wrong hands. Any of these risks should be discussed in collaboration with the person you're supporting, as they will often be the experts in their own lives and their own safety. You might need to do some safety planning alongside the person you're supporting, and in the guidance there is comprehensive advice around safety planning, created by the Domestic Violence Navigator Service in the Council. It includes lots of prompt questions that you can work through with the person you're supporting. For example, have you considered the ways that someone could use the information in your personal passport? What information on there could cause a risk to you if people found it? Is there anyone who you don't want to access this information? And is there anyone who has told you to fill in this information in a specific way? It is important to remember that ultimately it's still a person's choice about what they want to include in their personal passport.